We were doing a lot of voluntary efforts, but I literally saw Ravi Singh on TV one day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he was on a talk show in the UK, and I thought this guy is really cool. I didn't know he is a volunteer. And then I saw pictures of him in conflict zones, and I was very curious to find out what is a person who looks like a Sikh doing in a conflict zone, and how is he assisting, and what is he doing?
We organized aid supply for Gaza. So I'll give you the example of that. We organized aid supplies for Gaza. Our volunteers and team members got into Egypt, procured aid supplies, got supplies loaded on the trucks. Months passed.
Yeah.
It was still in Egypt. We couldn't get that into Gaza.
And the concept of Sarbat Dapala, which means that we serve everyone, goodness for everyone. We were doing a lot of voluntary efforts, but I literally saw Ravi Singh on TV one day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he was on a talk show in the UK, and I thought this guy is really cool. I didn't know he's a volunteer. And then I saw pictures of him in conflict zones, and I was very curious to find out what is a person who looks like a Sikh doing in a conflict zone, and how is he assisting, and what is he doing?
Yeah.
Then we learned a little bit more about Khalsa Aid and its contributions, and our mind was blown at that point of time when we reached out to him, and we didn't know him. He said he was inspired by what we do in Malaysia, and he's Malaysian.
Wow, okay.
So I think that really, was a catalyst for us to be able to say, hey, we have that within us, Semangat Malaysia. I think this was probably the early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay,
2005, 2006. I think two foundational principles of Khalsa Aid, which is applied from Sikh beliefs, is recognize the human race as one. Everybody is one.
Yeah.
And the concept of Sarbat Dapala,
Okay.
which means that we serve everyone, goodness for everyone. This is done as part of the Sikh daily prayer every day. So the belief in a Sikh system is to be able to serve everyone.
We do not preach faith, and what we have learned from faith is the first thing, recognizing whole humanity as one, treating everybody equally. Sarbat Dapala, well-being of all, which we mentioned, and compassion with empathy and maintaining the dignity of the beneficiaries. These are other principles which comes from Sikh faith. And if we look at it from the religious side, we must do our honest earning. We must do hard work and do the sharing with others who are needy, and must stand for the vulnerable, extend our help to them, whether it's just raising a voice against injustice, whether it's extending a helping hand to someone in their difficult times without discriminating. So these are the core founding principles of the Sikh religion. And this year, this is having 26 cyclones just in Philippines.
Yes.
So, we need to be prepared for it. And how we work with the local organizations and Sikh community from Malaysia. They've been supporting the work of Khalsa Aid from a really long time. And whether it was a tsunami or the earthquake 2018 in Indonesia. As we are expanding here in this region, like whether it was Myanmar, initially we worked at Myanmar border during Rohingya crisis. We were there for almost a year in Bangladesh. And now recently when there was an earthquake, our teams were there. These were the disaster relief. Indonesia, these were the disasters. So in this region, we were mainly focusing on the disaster response. Whenever there was a disaster relief, we started that long-term sustainable program with the Philippines on Palawan Island, where we are focusing on indigenous communities. They don't have access to clean drinking water. The waterborne diseases are there because of the contamination of the water. The schools doesn't have the adequate sanitation, rooms and stuff. So we are focusing setting up the hand pumps, solar powered pumps, reverse osmosis systems, whatever is possible in that region at the schools. The communities are surrounded, living in the proximity of the school. So why are we setting up at the school? So it encourages their kids to come to school. They know that they will have access to adequate environment, so they're coming over there. It meets immediate need of having clean drinking water, but it has long-term impact, avoiding any waterborne, prevention of the waterborne diseases, and also, giving them, reducing the strain onto the healthcare services from that. So, and the kids are being into the schools and getting the education, and also supporting the schools over there, providing them other medical, educational equipment, etc. So in this region, we are starting with that, as it's quite new for us in this region, setting up the long-term sustainable programs. You don't have the same language when you don't have any common thing which we normally see. No language, not religious, neither cultural. Then people ask, why are you helping us? Are you here with an agenda? Are you going to come back later on, preach us about religion? Do you need something from us? Is any government paying you? Why are you here? You know? When you tell them that we are here because we feel your pain, it's difficult for those people to believe at the beginning, but they see it happening. That we just comes in purely humanitarian aspect, and we are there to help those who are in need, and whatever we can do, we do. And it's not what we can bring, it's what people need. Can we arrange that? So that is why Khalsait's work is very diverse. Majority of the NGOs, they restrict their work to certain categories. We work in various sectors when it comes to disaster or development relief, looking at the needs of people, because that is the goal. Goal is not to expand just in one sector. It's not about just serving langar food. It's not about just providing shelters. You know, our current work is aligned with 6 UN SDGs, which is in development sector. It's just understanding the needs of the region, where we need to collaborate with the organizations here. Like I mentioned, it's not going to happen that we start an independent program without partnering with any grassroots organization. And they're doing brilliant work here, like VG have mentioned, in sustainability perspective, in supporting the vulnerable community members of who are living here. You know, when they identify any other gap, whether in eastern part or this part of the Malaysia, we will look into it and we will identify. And if we come across any other programs, we will discuss it with them to see how we can actually start that. We are very mindful and sensitive about when it comes to cultural sentiments and religious sentiments. We do not touch that. Purely to support people on a humanitarian grounds and support them with that only. So to do that, we work with the local communities, community leaders, community members of the affected, population, and we recruit them. This empowers them. This allows us to work more effectively. We understand their cultural needs. The language barrier is gone. We understand the customs, etc. So that way, we're trying to be prepared more. Supplies for Gaza, our volunteers and team members got into Egypt, procured aid supplies, got supplies loaded on the trucks. Months passed. It was still in Egypt. We couldn't get that into Gaza. That kind of challenges. Where do we go and talk about it? People are suffering. People are not raising voice for them. And the NGOs, not just us, many others facing similar challenges. We wanted to get the supplies over there. Another example of it. And after months, we were able to get it through when they removed the blockade. That was the only time, and we couldn't do more over there. We wanted to do more. And another example, like I mentioned about the Turkish earthquake, Turkish and Syrian earthquake, because that happened at the border. And the Syria was at the time sanctioned. We wanted to go in Syria and help those people, but because of the sanctions, we couldn't. Those relatives blocked us. We saw the devastation, but people who were in Syria, they had already suffered enough because of the ongoing conflict. Then they suffered more because of the disaster, but they didn't receive the support they needed. But at the end, we were able to send trucks, supply trucks through Kurdistan National NGO. Through them, they supported us, and through them we were able to get it. Otherwise, it was so difficult, we couldn't get it. We wanted to send aid supplies earlier, and now we want to send more supplies to Gaza, but we can't. So this is why we are focusing on refugees, whether they are in Lebanon, whether they are in Yemen, whether they are in Sudan, or whether they are in Turkey, whether they were Rohingyas.
When the Aceh tsunami happened in 2004, right, the groups of Sikhs and other volunteers got together and served, and I think there were about 50,000 people who were affected at that time. So it was a big eye-opener for us that something like this could happen so close to us, being very, in Southeast Asia. I mean, we take clean drinking water for granted, the ability for us to wash our clothes, to be clean, to get access from food. And when something like this happens so close to home, we begin to realize that we're all vulnerable. So to be able to build that network, if something like this happens again, how do we respond? What do we do? And how do we then build communities from there? What we don't realize is that a lot of those who live in Klang Valley have suffered from the 2021-22 floods, but have they really got back on track from where they were originally? So that's the kind of support that we need to do after that. We have a group of mental health volunteers who, some of them are in the private, public space. So when we identify a certain need, our counselors are able to engage to them, and then depending on where the need is and what needs to be done, the next step is taken. So among the volunteers we have, there are some who are clinical psychologists, some who are therapists, some who are counselors. So when we get situations that come up, we approach these volunteers who have that niche profession to say, how do we deal with this case specifically, and then how do we take the next steps?
They can send us an email with a brief information on info@khalsait.org. And Not every day we recruit them.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times a year, we do complete their recruitment. We do screening of the volunteers, then we bring them on board. Like Virji mentioned, the only skill that required, they need to be at 18 at least. And the another skill that required is to having passion for the humanity.
Yeah.
That's it. They can come from any background.
Yeah.
For any professional background, and all skills are required in humanitarian work. And when it comes to, let's say, if there is another activity taking place with the Khalsaid, we will involve them into that. If people are traveling to another country and another program is happening over there, they've been screened, they can participate in that, we allow them. If it is happening here, we might navigate them to the organization depending on their interest. Sometimes people wants to do something with the refugees. Sometimes people wants to do something in education. And if another organization is doing something with an education where we have partnered up with them before, then we navigate them to those organizations. They remain Khalsaid's volunteer and they are able to experience the work.